Ni hao. Welcome to the Better Late Than Never podcast. I'm going to skip any half-hearted attempt at an intro and just get right into talking about what I want to talk about. Um, Still haven't come up with a consistent schedule, but better late than never, right? So today, just to kind of go into a little bit about who I am, and that'll kind of segue into the topic I wanted to mention today. So I am in massage therapy school presently. And something very interesting happened today that got my thoughts going that I wanted to share. Um, so today we spent most of our time on the anterior part of the body. So we were massaging like the head, the ears, the neck, the shoulders, the legs, the front of the legs, stuff like that. And I'm not an expert masseur. I'm not an expert, so I'm still learning about a lot of stuff. And I'm not super confident in my abilities now, but I am confident in my ability to get better. And I'm saying that because that's going to come up later. That's one of the main points I wanted to talk about was. And my instructor, she mentioned something at the end of class as like a last second thing. Um, she as we were doing our massages and practicing and stuff, she was kind of walking around the class and checking in on people, giving some tips, some advice, stuff like that. And at the end of the class, we were sitting down and she was like going over what's called imposter syndrome. And I think as she was walking around kind of monitoring us, she got the impression that there were some people in the class who were feeling a little bit, or were feeling unconfident, feeling unsure, maybe a little insecure about what they were doing. And she was just kind of saying, like, look, we're all here, we're all in school, we don't know everything. Everyone's coming in here with different levels of experience. Um, and so don't feel put out. And just the idea of imposter syndrome is just, you feel out of place in a certain environment, whether you're talented in a skill or not, being in a certain environment or with certain company or comparing yourself to other people can make you feel like an imposter, like you don't really know what you're doing and you don't belong somewhere. Um, and as she was going over that, she was like, "Do you guys have any thoughts or feelings about that?" And I couldn't keep my mouth shut, and I was like, I definitely felt that in college. So just to kind of go over a little bit of uh, my history, and this kind of links with the first podcast I did, but I went to straight out of high school. I went to community college, um, and I was studying psychology, and I was having a miserable, miserable time. It was not, it was a very bad time for me. It wasn't all awful, but it was a very like rediscovering, rediscovering myself, discovering who I am, going through like certain identity crises and things like that. That's what that time, my early 20s were mostly that. Um, and so I'm in community college and I'm studying psychology. I'm not doing very well. I'm not very interested in the subject matter. I don't have any real goals or plans. I'm just here. I'm just in college because I feel like I'm supposed to be. And on a whim, I don't even remember what the catalyst was or what got me to try it. But I took an acting class, and it was just like a extra credit, or not extra credit, just like oh, you need a certain amount of credits, just why not? So I took an acting class, and um, there were a lot of different types of people in there. It's a community college. If you've never been to a community college before, Usually the diaspora or the demographic in terms of age is pretty different. You'll usually find a lot of different age groups, as opposed to a university where it's the majority are like 18 to like 24-ish people coming out of high school or grad students and stuff. Um, so I took an acting class, and growing up as a kid, I never did theater. Um I never did theater. I never did a play. I'd never even seen a play. But I was a weirdo, and I watched a lot of Disney movies, and one of my favorite things to do as a kid was have a movie playing and then have a mirror next to the TV and then like act out the scenes that are happening on the screen and just like get all the big like just get all the emotions and like stretch my face like Jim Carrey and just like do all these like weird expressions and like do a bunch of pantomime and stuff like that. I love doing that. So got to um, when I got to that acting class, um, I was told I was pretty good at it. I was told, I'm so good at it, and I was talking to my instructor. I was like, I'm in psychology and I'm not really having a good time. I'm really like struggling. And she was like, well, you're really good at acting. So why don't you just change your major and just do acting because you're very good at it. And I swear I'm not trying to brag. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just, explaining what's happening. And so I was like, okay. So I changed my major to visual arts with like a specialization in like theater and film. And then I took another acting class, and then I took a like maybe two more acting classes. Both the So I took two theater classes, and then I took one like film acting class. And I did a couple like student films and stuff. And I had one role in a actual play. And it was a very like I did two very small side roles where I said like one thing. Like I think, yeah, I had like two lines, maybe three lines in that whole play that I did. Very minor roles. Um, and so I graduated, and I got my degree in visual arts with film theater specialization and photography. And I was like, okay, well, so um, the college near me, which I mean, I'll just say VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. Uh, it was nearby, so I could have. I was gonna commute instead of going away. I wanted to go away. I wanted to move out and do all that, but I decided I was gonna commute instead because it would just be cheaper. And all this comes into play. I'm just explaining the backstory of all of it. So um, I'm like, well, I'm not going to get into VCU with my grade. My grades are dog shit. Like my grades, the grades I would need, my prerequisite grades are dog shit. I'm not getting into this university that way. So I was like, well, the only way I could possibly get in is if I audition for their theater program. VCU, I don't remember the exact ranking, but it's a pretty high ranked theater program. It's like number 5 or 6 in all of the United States. It's a pretty high ranking program, pretty low acceptance rate. Um, so I was like, why not? I'll just see what happens. So I go in there and I audition and I get in. So I get in. Now, that being said, I have at this point, I'm about 21, maybe 22 years old. I have taken two acting classes my entire life, theater related, and then one like film acting class. So I've taken two acting classes my entire life. I have never seen a play, like an actual play. I've never gone to a theater and watched an actual play before. And I have acted in one play, two very minor roles, and I've said three lines. I, I, I promise you, I'm not gloating. I'm just telling you like it is. So I got into their program, and you know, my orientation. This was like a sign to me. And this point in my life was a very turbulent time. I had a lot of things going on in my life that were not very ideal, so it was a very turbulent time. But I went to the wrong orientation when I got to college. I went to the visual arts orientation, not realizing that theater had its own orientation. So I go into the orientation, it's this big auditorium, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so they're just gonna have all the visual arts, like fine arts, music, or visual arts, but like fine arts, graphic design, theater, um, all that stuff's gonna be in just the same thing. Because it's like tons of kids in there, tons of people in there. And they're like showing other people's artwork and stuff like that. And it takes me like maybe 30 minutes to realize they have not said a single thing about theater. I think I'm in the wrong orientation. So then I go across the hall where the theater is, and that's where they're having their orientation. And it's like the first one I left, the orientation for visual arts had, I'm gonna guess, because that auditorium was packed. Like there were people sitting in the aisles and like standing up. So I'm gonna guess there were like nearly 300 students in there, possibly about 300. Um, VCU has a very strong has a very strong visual arts program in general. It's very much an art school. It's got other programs too, but its big thing is like the arts, very like hipster artsy place. Um, and then the theater orientation had, I think, maybe 20 people in it, maybe 25 students in it. So huge difference. So I come in late to the theater orientation. I sit in the back like I always do in everything that I do. I always sit in the back. And there's like people who, there was one girl who was studying abroad from France, and she was like kind of grilling the instructor, the professor who was running the orientation. She was kind of grilling her about like, hey, what are the standards at this school? What are the chances I'm going to be able to, what do you guys have? What do you have that's better than this other school? Like, what makes you so special? So she's like really like determined, like theater is her thing. And the other students too are like asking these very like in-depth questions about the program and stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't even know. I just lucked out for, I somehow got in here. I'm just here, you know? I don't know about any other school programs. Um, so that was like the first taste I got of, and I want to preface this, you know, what I'm saying about this school, this is nothing against the college. This is nothing against the particular instructors there. This is just me explaining my experience and how I felt about it. It's completely subjective, just completely my opinion. This is not a reflection on the school, the university, the instructors, anything like that, or the other students. Um, so at that point, felt the first taste of what I didn't know at the time was imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't even know what questions to ask about here. I just am here. Um, so fast forward a little bit, and the semester starts, and um, we're doing our acting classes and we're going through it. And I had been told prior to going to the university that, theater can be kind of a cliquey thing. People tend to form cliques kind of quickly, and theater can be it's just a kind of a cliquey thing. I didn't know what that meant until I got there, and it was like, oh, these 4 or 5 people always hang out with each other, and they don't really hang out with anyone else. And I'm a pretty introverted person. I have, I'm not the type to just go up to a group of people and start talking. Um, I'd done that in high school, and it played out the way it played out. I'll go into that a little later, but basically, as I'm going through this program, it's occurring to me how much these other students know. And there's this very strong assumption that everyone in this program is on the same level. One thing is the age difference, the demographic of age. It's, aside from myself, who's about 22 at the time, coming out of a community college, and maybe I think one guy who was like in his late 20s who was just coming back to school. Everyone else in that class was straight out of high school. And everyone else in the other classes, like in the sophomores and juniors and seniors, they were all pretty much straight out of high school. Um, and so there was this assumption of like everyone here has been doing theater since they were kids. They've seen all of the contemporary and traditional theater. They know all the techniques. It very much felt like, as someone who had like very little experience and like no real foundation, a very, very shaky foundation, it felt like everyone there was a professional who was just doing this so they could get their degree, or this was all a refresher to them. There was very much an assumption of like, you're in this program, you already know how to dance, you already know how to sing, you already have perfect choreography or know a great deal of choreography. You know all about these contemporary plays, you know about the traditional theater. You have acted in at least 10 different shows throughout your life. You've starred in at least half of those shows. You know what you're doing, basically. And that's not saying that's what it is. That's not saying that's exactly how they um, run that program. I'm just saying from my perspective, that's how it felt. And so the imposter syndrome started to kick in more. Now, at this time, I didn't know what imposter syndrome was. I was also going through my own sort of crises during that time. Not to get into too much detail, but you know, uh, my friend groups were starting to change a lot. I was going through a little bit of identity crisis, which I might have mentioned earlier. I was becoming much more self-aware, but in a very turbulent and like unguided way. I was learning how to counsel myself because I didn't really have many people I could confide in, if any. At that point in my life, most people had come to me to confide. I had very few, if no one, that I could confide in or I felt comfortable in confiding in, because most of my childhood and adolescence and late adolescence was listening to other people's problems and having them confide in me. So I didn't know how to confide in other people. So during this time period, I'm trying to learn about myself. I'm trying to, go through this program. I'm trying to kind of try to fit in, but I just felt extremely overwhelmed. Like, these other students, they knew all about all these different plays. They knew all about these contemporary plays, classical. They could sing, they could dance, they could do all this stuff. And, I can't really sing. Um, I can kind of dance if I learn the moves. Um, my big thing was just expression and, trying to be funny. And uh, I was told, like, you know, you're good at this. You're talented. You know what you're doing. But there was never, and this is the key point, and this is why, what my massage therapist instructor said today was so impactful. My instructor, okay, so the theater professors and like other students and my peers were like, "You're very good at this. Like you know what you're doing." And I was always like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making faces and being very expressive. I don't really know what I'm doing." Um, and there was never really a point. So what my massage therapist professor was saying was, like everyone here is on a different skill level. I'm not, and she was like, I'm not going to assume you're all have the same experience because you don't. Um, and what that translated to me was there was in the theater program and other programs, I'm sure. And if you have an experience like this, please leave a comment, share your experience, how you got through it or how you're getting through it or how you feel you might deal with it if it happens, if it hasn't happened to you yet. There's a difference of having confidence in your skills presently and having confidence in the skills that you will learn when you're going through any kind of program or experience. And when I was in theater, there was very much this precedence of everyone felt confident in their skills as they had. They had confidence in the skills they presently had because there was assumption of everyone here has a base level of experience. And, it's the theater program, it's at a university. I get it. Most of the demographic of students are coming straight out of high school and have been doing this. So it's catering to the majority, which I can understand. But what my massage professor did was she catered to everyone and basically said, look, like I said, just reiterating, you all have different experience. And this course, with the massage course, is not really about what you know now. I couldn't basically like I couldn't care less what you know. I couldn't give less of a shit what you know now. What's going to matter is what you're going to learn, what you're going to take out of this. Whereas in theater is very much what you know now. You might learn some things here and there, but it's very much you're honing a craft that you already have a decent level of experience. To kind of use like an analogy, it's almost like imagine a football, like someone who's never played football before in their life, never played football, goes to the was it the combine, the recruiting thing that the NFL does, just on a whim, just was like, oh, I'll just do it, why not? And they get in, and they get drafted, and they get put in the NFL, and they're surrounded by all these pro athletes who've been doing this since they were in Pee-wee. And they literally just walked on and they don't know. They're like, oh, I'm way over my head here. Same thing with like college. You have like a freshman coming into college who never played sports before and just decided, hey, I guess I don't know if college sports have tryouts. I'm assuming they do. Yeah, they must, right? And gets on the team and is like, you feel like you're out of your league. You feel like you're in over your head. You feel like you're in the deep part of the pool and you don't know how to swim. You can barely doggy paddle. And for that reason, I just wanted to, if you're going through something like that, and it can be anything. It doesn't even have to be like a program in school. It can be anything. It could be, let's use, for example, let's say you're going in the gym for the first time. Let's say it's the first time you decided you wanted to start going to the gym. It can be intimidating sometimes, especially depending on the gym you go to. You go to like a Gold's Gym or like an LA Fitness or something, and you're a little like, man, these people are like, they kind of, it's a lot of buff dudes in there, very fit women in there, just fit people. And you're kind of like, man, am I like, it's intimidating, right? I get that. I get that. I get that exact scenario because I felt the exact same way when I first stepped into a gym. Don't worry about your skills now. Don't worry about your confidence level right now. Don't measure your confidence to your skills now, and it's so easy to say don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare. What does that really mean, right? Cuz it's so easy. For me, I compare myself all the time. It's just a habit. We're social creatures and we tend to compare ourselves. Just like, in my opinion, if anyone ever says I don't judge people, yes you do. Everyone judges everyone. Everyone does. Everyone has an assumption of someone else. Whether you act on that judgment or not makes the difference. But everyone judges everyone. Everyone does. That anyone who says, "Oh, I never judge anyone," they're lying. I don't want to say they're lying. They might not act on their judgment, but they do still judge people. But anyway, the point is, don't worry about your skills now. Worry about the skills and what you're going to learn as you go through it, what you're going to get at the end of it. For me, that helps beat imposter syndrome. I'm not a good massage therapist. I don't know anything about massage. I've never massaged anyone in my life. But it's a subject that I'm interested in. And it's something I want to learn how to do. There's a lot of things I want to learn how to do. I want to learn how to speak Mandarin. I want to learn how to, that's why I started this with the ni hao. I want to learn how to surf. I would like to learn how to box and do some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I want to learn how to do Thai massage. I want to, and there's a lot of things I want to do. When you come at it from the approach of, I'm going to learn this skill, be confident in your ability to learn something. Don't be confident in what you already know. Because you're always going to be learning. Even instructors and professors and experts are still learning. My my instructor today said something very interesting. She said, if I ever got to a point as a massage therapist where I was not learning anything anymore, then I would quit and I would go do something else. That's just an interesting point of like, once you get to a point where you just stop evolving, where there's nothing else to do, there's nothing else to learn, you just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But yeah, that's just my advice in terms of dealing with imposter syndrome. If I knew then what I know now, I would have said, yeah, I don't know how to sing, I don't know how to dance, I don't have choreography, I don't know about these plays, I don't know any of this. But I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn this. At the end of all this, I'm going to be much more knowledgeable than I was before. I might not know as much as the next person does because they've got a high, they've been doing it a little longer. But I will be at a level that they once were at. There was a point where they didn't know about all this stuff. You think about the people we compare ourselves to all the time. You think about people on Instagram, like, people who are really, really fit, or people who are very, very, they know all about this one subject. There was a time where they didn't know about this. Babies don't come out flexing and benching 225, Even the first time a person picks up a weight, and I'm just using fitness as an example of like, some bodybuilders who are just super jacked now, they started when they were maybe 12, 13, Maybe they started later when they were 19, 20. Maybe they started when they were 26. There was a point where they didn't know what they were doing, and they learned and they got better and they grew. And just over time, they got to the point where they are now. And there's people who know more than they know. Think about whoever your idol is, if you have an idol or a role model. There was a point where your role model didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And the idea of fake it till you make it. I don't, for me personally, I don't say fake it till you make it. I say have confidence in what you're going to learn. Have confidence in the learning, the journey of it, and the destination to an extent, I suppose. You think about people who know all about a certain subject, or there's a point where you have to learn all that stuff. You have to get to that level, and it's gonna take time, and it's gonna take some perseverance, and don't feel put down by what you know now. Feel confident in your ability to learn later. So that's just something I wanted to share. Um, I was thinking about, if I went back to school now and did theater, how would my response be to that? And it would just be like, yeah, I don't know a lot of this stuff, but I'm gonna learn about it. You know, uh, wish I had that foresight when I was younger, but better late than never. Am I right? So yeah, that's just what I wanted to share with y'all. If you like this, please like, comment, please share if you've had experiences like this, or if this helps you in any way, or if you just want to tell me to shut the fuck up. Comment, um, subscribe. I'm just bad at. I'm not very consistent, so I just upload when I kind of feel like it. The sooner I accept that I'm like that, the more consistent. I don't know, whatever. I'm very inconsistent, but subscribe anyway. Why not? And yeah, I hope you guys have, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, just people. Hope you have a wonderful, what's today, Tuesday? Just hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, and I'll see y'all next time.